called Santeria.
Yeah.
Which is like this weird mix of Catholicism and voodoo. And apparently, whatever his ailments are, like, he just like, I don't know. He had a bunch of demons possessing and shit.
Bobby bought the place, there was an automobile accident in at that pole where 2 people got killed in that accident. The first officer arrived on the scene, was sitting there waiting for the life squad to show up. And while he was waiting, the officer said, came out and installed the doors right here and brought him out 2 tablecloths to cover the bodies up there. Okay. The original building was built on the site. It was built as a slaughterhouse. It was built back in 1850. Ran as a slaughterhouse from 1850 until the early 1890s. And then the business closed down. The building remained vacant until the early 1900s, and then it was torn down. But in the time that the building remained vacant, people would come into the basement of that building and use the well that's still down here for satanic ritual. I guess they figured since so much blood was dumped down into the well over the years that it was a slaughterhouse, that it'd be the perfect place to try to open up a portal directly to hell itself by doing ceremonies and sacrifices at the well. Some people believe they succeeded at it, others not so much. I don't know if you guys watch Ghost Adventures.
A little bit. Yeah.
They were here, when they came, they did 2 episodes here, one in 2008, one in 2010. The first time they came, they had a night vision camera set up right here, pointing back in that direction. Right in this area here is where they caught video of a shadow figure with a cowboy hat on. This one right across the video and disappeared. Back then, that whole corner was so full of junk, you had to climb up the top of things just to get around back there. This thing went through it like it was going through an empty room. Never made a sound or nothing. It just people. Actually, it was a pretty cool video. People claim they've seen dark shadow figures back into through that area, as well as the doorway of this room here. People claim they've seen dark shadow figures come out of the doorway and go back in, and they come down and look, and there's nobody there. Primrose and the Latin Quarter were sort of like supper club type businesses where you could come in, sit down, order a nice meal, and while you're enjoying your meal, watch a show, be it dancing, singing, whatever. And all these rooms up and through here were all dressing rooms for the dancers to come out, get ready for their shows, hang out in between shows, smoke cigarettes, drink drinks, kick back, relax. Who knows what had a cigarette on. But this room here was Johannas' dressing room. This was Johanna's dressing room. Of course, back in the day, it looked a lot nicer than it does now. But Johanna was a daughter of one of the owners of the Latin Quarter. She was a dancer here, and she fell in love with a singer here by the name of Robert Randall. She ended up getting pregnant by him. Well, when she was 5 months pregnant, they decided to run off together. Well, her father found out about it, and he was a very strict, controlling type father who really didn't approve of the relationship to begin with because he just didn't like the guy. When he found out what they were going to do, he did what all good fathers would have loved to have done back in those days and had him killed. Now, Johanna was so distraught over the fact of losing her lover, but then to find out that her father was behind the whole thing, she ended up poisoning her father and then herself. Now, her father did survive the poisoning, but unfortunately, her and her unborn child did not. A lot of EVPs and voices claiming to be Johanna have been caught here. People have been up in here and out of the corner of their eye, claim they see what look like a woman stand next to them, and they'll turn and look, and there's nobody there. People have taken pictures of the back wall where the mirror is and have on occasions caught images in the mirror other than themselves. We had one gentleman took a picture and caught in the mirror what looked like somebody hanging from the center of the room with a noose around their neck. All the other animals we have in cage, well, we got a big groundhog.
Yeah, I saw him under the steps.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a groundhog. And then once in a while we get bats on the ground. Okay, this room here is known as the Room of Faces. And the reason they call it the Room of Faces is obviously people look all over walls and see what they believe to be faces. Some people see them, some people don't. The white part's the pillow. The dark part's her hair. Her head's right there where her face would be. Her chin, her neck.
Oh,
her
I see
shoulder.
it. I see it now.
Her shoulder, and then her arm hanging down. You can see her fingertips sticking out of the end of her glove.
I see
You can see
it.
the strap of her dress going over her shoulder, and then her dress and body just fade off into the wall. It's kind of like she's laying there in bed dead. Now on the spiritual side of it, they did bring multiple psychics and mediums down here, and they did their thing on the walls, the old doors, the shelving, the whole complete room. Every one of them come back saying the same thing, that these were all faces and souls of the people who were tortured and died in this room. Because back during Latin Quarter days, if somebody accumulated a large gambling debt and couldn't pay it back, or they called them stealing or cheating in the casino, they'd bring them down into this room here and beat on them and torture them. If they didn't comply to what they wanted, they would have ended up killing them. You just didn't mess with the mob's money or their business. But this was the old jail cell. Now back during Latin Quarter days, if somebody accumulated a gambling debt but was going to pay it back, they just didn't have the money on them at that moment, they would lock them up in here until a friend or relative or somebody come down and paid the money so they wouldn't skip town on them. People have stepped up in there. I'm good for now.
Was he?
Some
Oh,
people
I'm
have-
gonna go in.
You do?
Oh, thank you.
You're that bad.
Some people have stepped up in there and felt sick to their stomach and uncomfortable. Come back out. Claimed that they've seen a full-bodied apparition of somebody hanging from this pipe in here. So if they did hang Johanna's lover when they killed him, they believe this is where they may have hung him. And of course, since we have the stairway to heaven here, we have to have the gateway to hell here. And this is the well. It has been capped, one for safety reasons, two to keep the river from flooding up into the basement, and of course three to keep people out, but it doesn't matter now because the tunnel's all collapsed. But it is a 14-foot drop straight down underneath that cap. But that's where they dropped the blood and the guts when the slaughterhouse was open. When the slaughterhouse closed, this is where they were coming in, dropping all their satanic offerings and sacrifices down into the well. And back in 1896, there was a woman by the name of Pearl Bryan. She was the daughter of a rich farmer from Indiana. She met a man named Scott Jackson, and she ended up getting pregnant. Well, when she was 5 months pregnant, he talked her into coming down to Cincinnati to get an abortion because they didn't want to keep the baby. So she came on down, and Scott Jackson and his best friend Alonzo Walden, who were both dental students here at the time, tried to find somebody to do the abortion and couldn't do it because back then nobody did those things.
You said dental students?
They were dental students, yeah. And so since they couldn't find anybody to do the abortion, they tried to do it themselves using their dental tools. Needless to say, they botched it up to the point she was bleeding profusely, screaming in pain. They wouldn't get in trouble for what they'd done to her, so they ended up killing her by cutting her head off. Now they found her headless body about a mile and a half up the road from here in an empty field. The only reason they were able to identify who she was is since she was from a rich family, she had the extra money to have custom shoes made. And the company made her shoes for her, just like all their clients, and put a serial number and logo in every pair they made. That's how they kept their records straight. Well, they caught Scott and Alonzo, and the whole time they had him incarcerated, they kept asking them what they did with the head, and they would never tell them. And even the day they were up on the gallows with a noose around their neck, they said, look, we'll give you leniency, we'll let you live, just tell us where the head was. They said they couldn't do it because if they did, it would bring the wrath of Satan down on them. So with those words being said, what went on at this well was satanic ritualing, the closeness of where they found the body, which even had a bloodhound follow a scent trail from the body to the slaughterhouse, and they themselves had ties to devil worshiping. They believed that they threw her head down into the well and offering the singing during one of these rituals. And this brings us back to kind of where we started. And this is where we do conclude the tour.